The Organisation of Central African States, ECCAS, has called for a swift return to constitutional rule in Gabon, one day after the military seized power. Coup leaders have named the Republican Guard chief as the head of the transitional government. They accused deposed President Ali Bongo of embezzlement and have placed him under house arrest.
Jubilant scenes on the streets of the Gabonese capital. After nearly 56 years of Bongo family rule, the political dynasty was overthrown by its own presidential Republican Guard. And after so much time, many are excited at the prospect of change.
We've had enough of the PDG party. They've ruled us for decades, even if they never won any elections.
Hours later, the army named General Brice Oligui Nguema, a cousin of Bongo's, as the new transitional president. If the coup is successful, this will be the 6th African country where the military has seized power since 2020. Ousted President Ali Bongo Ondimba had claimed victory in last weekend's elections, but mere minutes after his win was announced, senior military officers annulled the results and staged the putsch. Now, under house arrest, Bongo released a message asking the world for help.
I'm Ali Bongo Ondimba, President of Gabon, and I'm to send a message to all the friends that we have all over the world to tell them to make noise, for the people here have arrested me.
Many in Gabon are hoping the change in leadership will bring a brighter future. And for now, the international community can only watch on with bated breath.
Well, DW correspondent Amaka Okoye in Lagos told us how people in Gabon are reacting to the coup.
It's interesting, the sort of images we're seeing coming out from Gabon, particularly of jubilant celebration. This is a new reality, if you like. Over the years, decades, Gabonese have known just one name in terms of leadership and presidency, the Ali Bongos, moving from Omar and then, of course, now to Ali Bongo himself. And so it's a new reality, if you like. Something, of course, that not most of them, and not many of the people in Gabon are used to in terms of leadership. They have known just, Ali Bongo as their president. So history books it's just about to change with this, ousting of the president. And Gabonese seem to be very, very happy, seeing the development and what has just happened. Ali Bongo being ousted there in their country is one of a kind, and history really is just about to change, like I said, for the people.
Amaka, you're describing the joy of people within Gabon, and we've seen it. What's been the reaction from other countries in the region?
I think that's a very important question that you have asked, Anthony, because particularly ECCAS, which is the regional bloc for Central Africa, released a statement condemning the coup, in strongest terms, and asking that, the country be returned to constitutional order. They are also meeting, with other countries in the region to discuss the issue of this coup. Why it is important, if we put it in context for our viewers, is that Gabon is part of, the 11 countries in ECCAS. And those countries also have leaders that have been in power, in leadership for decades. For instance, Equatorial Guinea has got Obiang Teodoro on the one hand, who's been there since 1975, and also got Cameroon's leader, Paul Biya, as well, who has been there from 1982. These are over 4 decades of same people. So obviously there are concerns. Analysts and experts are saying it makes sense that they would want to meet because this must be shaking, the region at this time. On the neighboring countries must be worried that, we don't know if the military has successfully done this in one country in the region, it may just translate to other countries, especially these countries where, we've had leaders who have been there for decades and decades. So yes, it has brought shocking waves, if you like, to this country. And many people are indeed saying, even as we heard from Gabonese themselves, that this seemed to be a new era, really, in the Central African region, Anthony.
Mark, you spoke a little bit about the shockwaves in the region. This is just the latest coup, the latest in a string of coups that have taken place in the region in recent years. Is there, however, a common thread between these military mutinies, or is this coup in Gabon driven by completely different factors?
I think that's for the coup in Gabon is really different in terms of the fact that people are pointing particularly to how tired they are to be being ruled by one family, what they call the Bongo dynasty, for several decades. People my age, for instance, and much more older people woke up to Gabon, came to life in Gabon, and have never known any sort of leadership apart from what they have known. So this seems to be what it is speaking to, particularly a change. And of course, even though the military has taken over, this is also going to be a new experience, not just for Gabonese themselves, but also the military, because yes, Colonel Brice Nguema, who has taken over, is a very influential, powerful man who's been in the corridors of power, understands the nitty-gritty and intricacies in terms of the leadership there. It's also going to be a new path because they have never known any other leadership than what they have known. So that's what is very, very different from this coup that we have seen in Gabon, as opposed to the ones we have seen in other countries, central in the other region, West Africa, like we've seen in Burkina Faso, we've seen in Mali, also very recently in Niger, where there seem to be more focus on the anti-French sentiment. But for this, Gabon's own seem to be, we're tired of these people, we need to get fresh people. It feels like it's a time for, breath of fresh air, Anthony.
OK, let's get more from Leonard Mbule Nzige in Cameroon, which borders Gabon, and is now a doctoral researcher at the University of Cape Town. Welcome back to DW. Leonard, there's been condemnation of this coup in Gabon from the African Union, the UN and France, among others. Would those critics be happy to see the Bongo family dynasty return to power?
Thank you. Good afternoon. Just for the record, I'm currently in Cape Town, but I am from Cameroon. With respect to the reaction from the international community, I think that at this point in time, they will probably take a pragmatic approach because, as you've seen, General Brice Nguema has been declared the transition leader, and we haven't heard any response from the Gabonese opposition. We haven't heard any reaction from the PDG, that is the ruling party members. We haven't heard anything from Bongo's family. So it seems like the coup is more or less a fait accompli, that is an accomplished mission. And at this point in time, the international stakeholders would do as much as possible to engage with the new coup leaders to ensure that there is as swift a return to constitutional order and civilian rule as possible.
Yeah, the man who's been appointed Gabon's transitional leader, as you say, Brice Oligui Nguema, is not only a military general, but he's also the ousted president's cousin. Is installing the president's cousin really an end to the Bongo family rule?
As you've noted, not only does he have family ties, but then he has been a long-standing member of the Bongo's inner circle. He was Omar Bongo's aide-de-camp, which in military terms is essentially the personal assistant. And he was also the head of the presidential guard, or they call the Garde Républicaine, in Gabon. So he's had intimate access to the inner circle of the Bongo family and understands the workings across the board. As we know, the Bongo family dynasty has been in charge for 57 years, and they've been able to consolidate their power across all facets of society. And the positionality that Nguema had makes him understand inner workings to the core. So in that regard, it's not necessarily a break from the past. It's not somebody who is an outsider. It's not somebody who can provide a clear break. But on the other hand, considering that him as well as the military council in place now are riding off the wave of discontent, in order to attain some sort of legitimacy, they cannot maintain the status quo. So some sort of changes will have to be made.
Leonard, where does Gabon's coloniser France stand in all of this? How close have the Bongo family ties been to France during their 50-plus years in power?
France's ties to Gabon have been very intimate. We could say, I know you've heard of the relationship between France and Africa known as Franc-Afrique. Gabon, as well as Côte d'Ivoire, and to a lesser extent, Cameroon and Senegal, have been at the center. They've been the focal point. But this was more so the case during the presidency of Omar Bongo. He supported the Biafra invasion and so on and so forth. And a lot of the undercut dealings were done during that presidency. But then this has been less apparent during Ali Bongo's presidency. Last year, Gabon got admitted to the Commonwealth. China is the largest investor in that country. Turkey, India, and Singapore have also become very important players, as well as the United States. But nevertheless, France will have a role because the political elite, both within the opposition and within the former regime, alongside the military rulers, have very strong links with France. And France has 10,000 citizens, as well as a military base in Gabon. So France will have a say, or they'll need to be consulted with respect to the way going forward in Gabon's polity.
Leonard Mbule Nzige, analyst and researcher from the University of Cape Town, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Now, the coup in Gabon is just the latest in a string of recent military takeovers on the African continent. 5 other countries in the region have also seen coups, most recently in Niger last month. In 2022, Burkina Faso saw 2 putschs in less than 9 months. In 2021, Sudan's Prime Minister, Abdallah Hamdok, was ousted by military force, the same year as Guinea and Mali experienced their own coups d'etats. Now, in response to the coup in Niger a month ago, the ECOWAS bloc of African states has imposed sanctions, and that means provisions are getting scarce in the landlocked country. Tillabéri is a city on the Niger River, just 120 kilometres north of the capital, Niamey. As our next report shows, residents there are feeling the effects of the sanctions.
Down with ECOWAS. These demonstrators in Tillabéri are furious. For them, it's clear who is responsible for their dire situation. Sanctions imposed by ECOWAS. And France, a close ally of the overthrown government.
We're very happy that the military has taken over. Over the last few years, we've suffered so much because of regional insecurity. There are no jobs. We've only lived on agriculture and our cattle. But then the terrorists took all the animals and killed our men and sons. And the government has done absolutely nothing about it.
At the local market, customers can still find staples like rice, but fewer and fewer people can afford to buy them.
What we really want, now that the military has taken control, is that they go to the shopkeepers and get them to lower prices. They need to have pity on us. ECOWAS say they're going to do this or that. If the generals really love Niger, as they always say, then they should at least lower the prices.
We pray to God that the high prices will come down, so then we can go back to our old prices. Then our customers will be happy.
Even people on a good salary, like NGO worker Tairou Amadou, are struggling to make ends meet. Every week he sends a bag of rice to the capital Niamey to feed his extended family with 4 wives and 9 children. He feels lucky to be getting any rice at all.
Rice that we import here in Niger just isn't getting to us anymore. Without that, there's only local rice from Niger, which isn't enough for everyone. Demand is making the price shoot up. Even with local rice, every week the price goes up by 25 francs.
Local rice is grown just a kilometre away from the market on the shores of the river Niger. Although the price for his crop has gone up, rice farmer Ibrahim Zakari says he's not the one making a profit, whichever government is in power.
The high cost of rice is not directly related to the current situation, but more to the availability of fertilizer as well as diesel to run the pumps that irrigate our plantation.
Wherever you look, the streets of the once bustling town are empty. Trade has stopped at Tillabéri's small harbour. Where no goods are coming in, the situation is getting worse every day.